no submitted public comments. Is that correct, Claudine? No.
That is correct, John.
Okay. So we will move, I call the meeting to order, and we will move to the consent agenda, which includes the minutes of the Board of Trustees meeting of December 14th, 2020, as well as the December 31 year-to-date 2020 income and expense report. May I have a motion and a second, please? You can all unmute for now. A motion?
I so move.
Thank you, Bill. Second?
Second.
Second.
Beth was first there, so Bill and Beth. Anyone have any item that they want to remove or any edits to make? I see none. So all in favor of the approval of the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
thank you. Any opposed? Hear none, passes unanimously. We will deal with action items first tonight because it has to do with board positions, and officers, and so forth. So the first motion that I have, I will read the resolve. It is the resolution for trustee appointments. The resolve is reappoint David Hemphill for his second term as trustee for 2021 through 2024. Second, appoint Lynn Lawson to complete the unfinished term of Liz Zorns for 2021 through 2022, and appoint Pete Johnson to his first full term for 2021 through 2024. May I have a motion and a second, please? From existing board members.
I so move.
Thank you, Bill. And a second?
I'll second.
Okay, seconds. Thank you. Any discussion? These, of course, have gone through the necessary approvals from the Larimer County Commissioners and the Town of Estes Park Board of Trustees. Seeing no desire for comments, unmute, please, and vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? It passes. Thank you. I also had a proxy from David if we needed it. We didn't. We have a quorum of 4 of existing board members. Welcome, Pete and Lynn, officially now to the Board of Trustees.
Thank you.
Second action item is the approval of officers for the 2021 calendar year. I have a resolution that would read that John Kruger would be president, Lynn Lawson vice president, Pete Johnson secretary, and David Hemphill treasurer. Could I have a motion to approve?
I so move.
Beth moves. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Bill. Any discussion? Any other nominations? Any other volunteers? Okay, thank you. Unmute, please, and vote by aye if you're in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
That includes Pete and Lynn being able to vote too. Okay. You can now
Aye.
vote. Expect.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Okay, so part of my responsibility as president is to appoint the committees and any task force assignments. I have no task force assignments at this time. Committees shall consist of the Government Affairs Committee will be myself, John Kruger, and Vice President Lynn Lawson. The Finance Committee will be David Hemphill, the treasurer, and Kay Weston. And the Policy Committee will be Pete Johnson and Beth Ellis. There's no vote required unless there's an objection to those by anyone. Any objections? I see none. What we do also need to do is approve for the 2021 calendar year, the posting location of our meetings, the notices of those. They shall be at the library lobby, on the community bulletin board, and on the library website. May I have a motion to approve that, please?
I so move.
Thank you, Pete. A second.
Second.
Lynn, thank you. Any discussion about that? It is required that we post in advance all of our public meetings, which includes any time more than 2 board members gather on board business, library business. If there's no discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Think I heard everyone. Any opposed? Passes. And the final action item that we have for tonight is approval of library closures. That was in your packet. I actually did not print it out. Could we have a motion, though, to approve those designated library closures?
So move.
Beth, thank you. And a second.
Second.
Lynn,
Yeah.
thank you. Any discussion or questions about the planned closures? Yes, Claudine.
2 questions, John, and I realize that I approved this before it went out, so please know this is me. I failed to notice, even though I think Joanna asked me, day after Independence Day. I'm trying to figure out if that is something historical that we've done, or if I'm going to ask Jo if she would unmute and tell me what I can't remember. Why would we have a day off after Independence Day?
I think it's because Independence Day is on a Sunday.
Mhm.
Did we have some discussion about that?
It is on a Sunday this year, and if you're still doing your current schedule, you would be closed on Sunday anyway.
That
And
was
so,
it. Thanks, John. Sorry,
Yep.
I needed, I thought it required just a modicum of explanation why we slipped in something.
Appreciate
It's
that.
because, yes, we're actually closed if it happens that our hours continue as they currently are. Thanks, Jo. Thanks, John. It took a lot to rattle my head and get me back. So that was the explanation. I also wanted to say, I think this will be a good year to look at our library closures. We haven't actually looked at them in my tenure. And I think there have been some really thoughtful developments in how holidays are managed and self-selected on occasion by employees. So just putting that out there, President John, that I think for the 2022 year, we'll probably have some different recommendations.
Is there a
Oh.
certain number each year? Okay.
Historically, Pete, it's been 9,
Okay.
which is why after my brain perked up today,
10.
like, wait a minute.
It's 10, isn't it? It's usually 10.
1, 2, 3, 4.
There's 11 listed there with the 4th being listed.
You're right.
Most companies
You're
that
right,
I'm
John.
aware of and so forth, it's usually around 10. The government takes more than that, of course, in general.
The federal
But-
government, we're government too.
Yeah, well, we are a governmental kind of agency. That's right. And
It used to be 11.
Most were closed today.
Mhm.
And so we weren't. And that was something that I thought about actually when I read through that. We haven't,
Exactly.
but maybe that's a consideration, especially as we move into the EDI discussions. Okay.
Thanks, John. Thank you all for, can I answer any further questions about something that looks so simple that I chose to complicate tonight?
No, not at all.
A
Clarity is
question,
good. Yeah. Okay.
what does the town do?
I don't know. I can pull it up and provide it to the board.
Just if we consider it in 22, let's look at what the town does.
You betcha.
That would be a good idea. I think they were closed today, actually. I know, remember. Anyway, we have this list unless anyone has additional edits or wishes to change. All in favor of this list of library closures, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Passed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I have no other action items that will require voting. So we will move to strategic discussions and reports for the government affairs. Primary thing tonight has to do with our work plan for this year. You have a copy of that. We will plan to have a February study session, a March study session. Right now, the March board meeting will depend on whether we have items to deal with. If we happen to have a policy set to consider, then we may have a meeting in March, but that's right now to be determined. I would like to add to this list on the May timeframe, unless there's desire by the board to consider it sooner, to add not only the 10-year rolling financial plan presentation, but also a discussion around the compensation survey that was completed and in your packet for tonight. We weren't planning to have a major discussion tonight. If anyone has some questions, clarities, that would be fine, but I thought it would be worthwhile to have a more significant discussion, especially in association with the long-term financial plan, as moving forward with that, the results of that survey will impact our longer-term financial planning. Any questions or discussions on that?
Yeah, I don't want to be a burr under the saddle, but if I read the report correctly, which I may not have, there's a considerable gap between the market and our pay schedule for quite a few employees, which obviously has huge financial impact. I'm wondering why we don't discuss it earlier in the year. 'Cause to me, it seems like a really important discussion. That's all.
Well, we've already approved the budget for this year is one reason, I guess, Bill. It would mean if we chose to implement during this year, it will mean an adjustment to the budget, most likely. I've done some calculations myself on it. Just on a salary basis, if we made sure everyone was at the midpoint, with the exception of our shelvers and subs, then it would include a little over $60,000 increase in the budget. That's just salaries, not benefits. And I would have to ask Claudine and Cindy to calculate that. And we haven't had time to do that at this point. The other element for discussion is whether or not we move to anniversary dates on salary increases rather than the first of the year. That's part of the discussion in the report as well.
John, thanks for doing that numerical analysis. That actually puts my mind at ease, because I had an idea that it would require a lot more money than that. So thank you.
Well, that's the first thought I had as well, Bill, and that's why I went through it with the spreadsheet that we had on our comp for this year and plugged in the numbers. And unless I did some spreadsheet errors, that's the number I came up with, a little over 60,000 effectively. Could be as much as 70,000 if we actually got absolutely everyone to that midpoint. Part of the discussion we need to have, I think, also, and get some more information from Graves Consulting, is around the market group that they chose to include, which is all libraries in Colorado, apparently. That's what they say. And they're using the employee council's numbers. Is that right, Claudine?
I think they're working with libraries that have revenue under $2 million, but I will double check that with Lori. I'm not sure. We've had a couple of conversations and that was my recollection, but you are right. That's not in the report. So I will confirm.
Under market in the report, it says this includes information from library districts of all sizes from across Colorado. It doesn't say all libraries, it says all sizes.
Yep, I'm hearing you.
But we do need to get some clarity, I think, from them. And it might be helpful to actually have a representative from them join us for any detailed discussion, I think. Anyone else have any comments or desires here?
I have a question.
Yes. Okay.
I perused the report. I can't say I read every word, but is this just compensation or does this include benefits in the package, the compensation package?
Okay, it's just salary.
It is salary. Okay.
Mhm.
It's not, she emphasized this is not a compensation package review. This was not a job description review. And this was not a livability review, right? It was just straight up salary.
Okay.
Thanks for asking and clarifying.
There
And
was mention about,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Pete.
oh, I was just gonna, the mention of midpoint. Is that going to be our target for all employees? Or, I mean, I would think that there's people with a lot more experience that could obviously go to the maximum, and people who don't have any experience, very little experience, would be more like towards the minimum. So what is our strategy on midpoint?
I'd like to answer that, Pete.
Okay.
That's the whole, thank you for asking. I think that's the $100,000 question, which is what is the strategy? How do we do it? And when you have a chance to look through, she actually has terminology of how one sets that, and it is subjective. It's almost certainly going to be a recommendation that I'm going to be making as your employee for my employees. And the next question for the board is under what time frame, right? Because of course, John, your simple calculation just shows, for example, one of the positions we took out for the 2021 budget was because it looked like it's $30,000 in salary, but with full benefits, it's $60,000. So it's not that person, we want a community where people are benefited and well compensated, but getting our budget from this point to that is not going to happen in 1 year, and it may not happen in 2 years. I did want to go back, John, to something Bill asked. Mm-hmm. If you look at the third chart where she shows the trajectories, almost everyone it's not something to crow about, but it could be worse. And in fact, she said most organizations she works with is worse when they do this level of work, is people aren't even on the scale. So we're on the scale except for a handful of part-time jobs. And John, I spoke with John and said, I think my action in the short term before my full recommendation to the board, and John, I like May, thank you very much. That gives the staff time, is we're going to bring everyone to minimum. Again, this is nothing to be proud of, but it's just an obvious and simple point. And what I asked John is, I simply will make sure that we don't go over budget this year. That is my commitment. How I start pulling the levers, I think, is going to be getting everyone to minimum. And, we've put out those 2 supervisor jobs, and I'm looking forward to that range, that new range we've put out in the job posting that I think will help us attract people with credentials, experience, and library degrees. So that's where my short-term attention is, but the long-term shift to how we move everybody to the right spot on maximum, average and minimum is something I'm going to have to work on offline.
Okay. And I have another, just to follow up, I can work offline with you on this.
Thank you, Pete.
There's a term called comp ratio in there, and
Yes.
which is the relationship of the incumbent in the job to the midpoint of that salary group. I could see the trend lines, but I was having a hard time without having the individual hourly rates for the employees. It's very hard to see where they kind of are. So is that something that I could talk to you about offline?
You are so kind, Pete. I should have said, and we hope that Pete continues to work with us on this process. Because us is Cindy Seckman, the accountant, and Joanna Stensland. The three of us make up the HR team, if you will, in admin. And Pete has become, it'll be fun to call him an adjunct because he's the only one with HR credentials in the group. So Pete, thank you.
Yeah, and good questions and comments all the way around on this. That's really why I'd like everyone to have some time to get into it in a little bit more detail, especially Claudine and Cindy and her staff, but also the finance committee and Pete. I've taken the spreadsheet that was the comp information from Employees Council that Cindy, I guess, created, that was in one of the spreadsheets in our 2021 budget. So one of those spreadsheets, one of the tabs is that comp information. And I plugged in these new numbers and their position grade levels, which are different than ours, but based on the positions where they put our different positions at these new grade levels. And I can provide that to Cindy if that's okay, Claudine. I've highlighted the columns I've added to it, and that might assist as she moves forward.
Sure, send it to both of us, please.
Yes. Okay, so there is a lot of information there. There are some questions, I think, still to clarify, and hopefully we can get to that and build our strategy as an organization on how we move forward with regard to what this survey has given us. Okay. Anything else from anyone? Okay, going back to the work plan then. The rest of the year is pretty consistent with most of our years. You will notice that we have a number of policy sets lined up for this year. I think as many as 5 possibly sets. The first hopefully will be the finance policy update, which is just one policy, but a very long one. And so that one hopefully will be at our February meeting. Anyone have any questions regarding our annual work plan for the trustees? Okay. There's also a sheet in there that just lists the dates. In relation to those dates of our meetings, we would appreciate an email to Claudine and myself as to any dates that you will be anticipating missing at your earliest convenience, please. We'll get that on the trustee calendar and try to make sure that we will have quorums for all the necessary meetings. Okay.
John, I have a request.
Yes, ma'am.
For the board. So over the years, as you have understandably adjusted your topics and your dates over time, which of course is completely legitimate, we just make sure we're posting them for the public so that they can be aware. Something I would like to do, and I'm pretending Joanna agreed with me earlier, but she can step in and say if she disagrees, is the Google Calendar would be a really excellent place for us to put in that, on Thursday, the first Thursday in February is the 2021 library operating plan, so that instead of, unless you prefer it, Currently, we've been updating these documents on Google Drive and occasionally sending them to you. I'm not sure that that has been favored. I'd like to propose that we use the Google Calendar, the trustee calendar, which hopefully if you haven't subscribed to it, Joanna can help you. And that's where we seat, that's where those dates change. That's where the topics change and evolve in a much more organic way. I'm hoping that that may be more effective for you as individuals.
Thank you. We will try to do that.
Okay.
Okay. David is not feeling well tonight, so I'll turn to Kay. Is there anything that the Finance Committee wishes to bring forward to the board tonight?
I think the highlights that I want to just mention, I think they're in the administration report, but I think they're worthy of mentioning. The COVID relief fund has been extended to December 21, and we do have money left over. We can't request more money, but at least we have a good opportunity of using that $60,000 that was approved. We signed our contract with a new auditor and have actually started sharing preliminary information. And maybe you can say, I know you were considering the same auditor. Has any decision been made?
Yes, we made a decision to also go with her.
Good.
Yeah, so we're just letting her know in the next couple days. The executive committee overwhelmingly supported her. And we thought also it would be good to have her because she's with the library and have sort of a continuum, and that would make it a lot easier. So
I think
yeah.
so too. So thank you. And the last thing is the Finance Committee did look at the policy and made some suggestions, and I think it's getting ready to be passed on to the Policy Committee. So.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone have any questions for Kay around finance? Or Cindy, she's on there too. None? Okay, starting off the year good. If you did not note or notice, we did end up so far, of course, we have a 13th month to finalize, but we ended up with a surplus of over $300,000 from revenues versus expenditures for last year. So that money should be transferred with the Finance Committee's direction to Cindy into the long-term, the various funds, reserve funds as required by the plan and the policy. Okay. All right, thank you, Kay. We'll move then to the library director and your reports, Claudine. You're muted, Claudine.
Thanks,
Okay.
John. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
So we'll start with the IGA, the annual review of agreements between the library and a number of either partners, vendors, whatnot. I won't be going through them line by line, but I would like to give a slight overview and then answer any questions. So this is, I don't know, 10 years we've been maintaining this for the board and for ourselves. And I believe it was John who may have said in the Government Affairs Committee that he was especially interested in any agreements that were over $10,000 a year annually. So those are on page 2 and they're highlighted in that soft yellow. There are, in fact, more agreements that go on between the library each year, but they have no monetary value. They are the partnerships with our programs. So sometimes that is as many as in a given year, 10 or 15. When, for example, we were sorry that the music workshop, we won't be hosting that this year. We've been doing it for several years with Dr. DeYoung. But for example, there's no money being exchanged. That's just a relational agreement. So we did not include those on here. These are all IGAs, memorandums of understanding, soft agreements that involve other organizations or actual contracts. So that's my summary to give you. May I answer any questions?
So I'd just like to highlight for everyone, the ones that are highlighted in that yellow, those are of particular interest to us because any contracts over $10,000 require board approval. We have a couple that are automatically renewed and are approved annually. Typically, custodial and insurance are approved via the budget. But you have opportunity certainly to raise any questions about those that you might have. Those have been renewed already for this year. Is that correct? The custodial has been renewed too?
It has.
Yeah.
It has. And it's a subtle point, John, but just a reminder to those of you who are not K and don't spend a lot of time understanding insurance. We do use an insurance broker. So for what it's worth, if that changes anything in our relationship, that brokerage is who helps us find and select our various insurance policies.
And we had a major review of that at the beginning of last year, where the broker came in and discussed with us. And we also looked at the Special Districts Association's potential insurance that could be provided that way, and chose to stick with the one that we have. Okay. Any questions on any of these? I guess for Annie's benefit, I would note that something has come up here at the end of last year in my mind that we may need to readdress the MOU with the Friends and Foundation in one category. And we'll have that discussion when Sarah and you and Claudine and I get together in February, if that's okay. Thanks. Back to you, Claudine.
Thank you. So we'll start with the administrative report and that is current for January, and then we'll move into fourth quarter kind of staff team reports based on the strategic plan. So Cindy puts all of us to shame with the thoroughness and value of her reports. I hope it is self-evident. She's repeated a few things, but she's here if you have any questions about her work. I think she really, Cindy, thank you for your financial reports. Mine is a little shorter and sweeter. Just a reminder, as I said earlier, of our staff vacancies. And I think a very important point, which is, I think, I'm not even sure how many staff members came in after the surprise that everyone received an end of year bonus for the dumpster fire 2020 year, and was incredibly grateful to the board for that. And I just want to give you a collective thank you for making that possible. We haven't done that in a very long time. And just as a, it's now in the air we breathe and the water we drink, COVID and the various dial ranges, but just a reminder that if you ever leave Estes Park, you'll see a lot of libraries are still closed. And some of them closed during level red and are working to reopen. Some are, even though we've been in orange now for several weeks, will not open until February 1st because they're such large operations. So just letting you know, there's just a handful of libraries that have been open continuously. We're not one of them. We were closed for a short while, for those of you who are new. But we've been open an extremely long time under COVID conditions, and just letting you know, everything is the same. Whether we were in orange or red, our operations were not affected. So if there's any questions I can answer about that, please let me know. And otherwise, I would turn it over to Annie.
No.
Oh,
and
Herbert, sorry.
We'll get back to that. It's on the same page, but we'll wait and give Annie her chance in a moment. But we have a fourth quarter
sorry, Annie.
Strategic report update.
I want to thank the staff who, even though our numbers, as you can see, especially from the dashboard, are not a source of warmth from my heart. So much red. I've never seen so much red in our dashboard reports. But as you can see, it is not for lack of output. we're hoping our impact, though diminished under COVID conditions, is something that we can still share with you, thanks to some of the collected quotes from the public. So I have nothing, John, that I'm going to pull out of this, but I always enjoy everyone's questions relative to the 5 goals.
Great, thank you. So we will open it up, board, if you have comments or questions around the written report or the dashboard. Now is your opportunity to bring it forward. Hopefully you have read through it. Okay, I'll jump in as usual, but I hope someone else might have a few comments. 2 items on the dashboard show up red, even though they should be green or at least yellow. The numbers on the college and career readiness, the program
Oh,
participants
you're
are
right.
positive increase. We thank Kay
Kay
Orton for her
Mhm.
continued volunteering effort along with staff in that regard. I would say the house calls, I would make particular positive comment, and I hope you'll pass it along to Gretel and the volunteer, who I think is Fran Gabrielson still.
I think so.
They obviously made significant effort to keep up the kind of home deliveries, house calls, and efforts there, even though there was one visit short of last year's. I think that should be a bright green as far as I'm concerned. And then the other one that showed up red for some reason is under the growth internal, under revenue collection, 7% increase. So
Sorry that you heard me giggle. Thank you, John. I apologize. To me, I'm looking at it as a resignation to a difficult year and not even analyzing. I apologize. That's on me. We'll clean those up for the
my other
future.
comments would be, I would have expected no less than a lot of red given the kind of year that it's been. But at the same time, the efforts in a number of program areas to continue anything at all, I think, has been exceptional. And I hope that you will relay to the staff my appreciation. I think probably the entire board's appreciation for those kinds of efforts. And that was part of our trying to give the recognition on those bonuses that you mentioned.
I will be sure to pass it on, John. And thank you, everyone.
Has anyone come up with anything else that they have questions or comments on?
I have just
Yes.
a quick question. I think I read that because we went to Red for a while, that some of the video work was discontinued. Is that
Correct.
gonna start up again then, since we're in orange?
Right. We weren't able appropriately to have 2 people in the room recording with a mask off, and now we can do that. So
Okay,
yes, the answer is yes to
Okay.
that.
good.
Thanks, Kay.
And I have a question for your staff. Craft and maker programs, the grab and go adult activity kits.
Yeah.
Would they like some used puzzles, jigsaw puzzles to put in those packs?
Jigsaw puzzles that people will consume and keep at home?
Sure, keep or whatever. Yeah.
Maybe. What do you have in mind?
I have a closet full. And I'd be more than happy to contribute.
You're not the
And
first
maybe
to
others
offer it,
would. Okay.
John. And I think that if there's a way in which we can have, some libraries have been quite successful in having essentially free tables where folks can come and literally grab and go without a reservation. Some of these are like in the 1,000 of items taken by members of the community. So let me see what I can do. Thank you.
Just curious.
Yeah.
Anne, would that be something that could possibly be included at the store?
We've talked about it. We actually have a little shelf that has 4 or 5 puzzles. So I think that might be something I could bring up to the executive committee and get back to you.
I
mean,
suspect there's
it's-
a lot of people around that have them.
A lot
just
of people
there.
love
Once you-
puzzles.
Yeah, and once you've done them,
Yeah.
few people do them a second or third time. So that's great.
And you probably know, John, it's trusting that when you get to that piece number 999, that 1,000th piece is there. That just letting you know, it seems small, but on an emotional level, people care. So we want to just not have a system of circulating them, but of just, giving them away. Just a reminder. Yeah.
Fine.
Or selling them.
Or selling them.
Or
Yeah.
selling
I think
them.
that's
Yeah.
really smart.
Well, that'd be fine too. Okay.
Thank you.
Excellent report as far as I'm concerned. And I think we may want to reconsider the dashboard. We want to keep track of the numbers, but I think given the kind of numbers we had in 2020 in relation to previous years, and once we start ramping up again, it's going to look maybe disproportionate. And so
We're looking forward to
that-
those magnificent numbers, John. So don't take that away from us.
okay.
I mean, John, are you suggesting it should be a 3-year dashboard?
Maybe a longer term kind of progression or something, or just almost ignoring a year or two in here and getting back to it. Maybe not this year, but next year is in relation to 2019. I don't know. I'd like it to be something that really is credible and helps us understand what we're really accomplishing. That's my main concern.
It's not for scoring points, John, as I tried to frame it.
Nope.
I think that is an excellent point. And Lynn, if you had an idea of what how the 3-year dashboard, could I just ask for you to elaborate?
Well, where this shows 19 and 20, to do 20 and 21 becomes less meaningful. So you maybe keep this and add a column for 21. And maybe it's for 22 as well, since 21 is going to have some
That's very simple. Got it.
strangeness.
Thank you.
Yeah, longer term look at where things are progressing and need to be reconsidered. That's a good idea. Okay. Any other comments on the strategic report? Questions? I don't see anyone.
I'll just have one comment.
Yes.
We were talking about the grab and go kits and then got into the puzzle conversation, but I think that I think those were amazing. Like, it was really cool to see how many people showed up for those and went above and beyond. So good work, team. Good creative ideas. I like that.
Yes. Thank you for that. Okay. Make sure I give everyone an opportunity. Any comments or questions? So we will turn to Annie Finley for Friends and Foundation update.
Okay. So we had an end of year surplus for our annual appeal of $10,730.31. Pretty proud of that, especially during these times. Everyone really just pitched in. It was great. So all of the Cliffhanger apartments are rented and for a year at least. So we have year leases on every single one of them. That's a relief. We struggled a little bit this year, especially during the fire and people leaving, but they're all rented, which is great. We also, as a board, Sarah and I look forward to orientation with the 2 new board members, just to sort of bring them up to speed as to what we do as the working part of the foundation and library. So, and then I really wanted to, one of the things we're going to be pushing out in February with the membership drive is the recurring monthly donation. Curtis attempted to put it out to the public in some email blasts. We didn't get many hits, so I want to keep talking about it. I think Claudine's done it. I've done it. It's really exciting. So, oh, John's maybe done it. So that's good. So you can, right now, you can get to it by going to the newsletter at Estes-Valley-Library.org. And it's under the Soar into a New Year, Ideas to Elevate Your Goals. It's in that section. And it just gives you an opportunity to, some people don't like to write a check at the end of the year, just one check. They want to maybe divide it out over the year. So this gives you an opportunity to do that. And it also sort of breaks down what some of that money is targeted for. So, and I think that's it. Oh, we did have a little bit of a snafu, my fault. We were supposed to present the annual budget of income and our expenses in January per our MOU. I let that slide, sorry, but it will be in your February packet. So,
And that's fine, absolutely fine.
okay. So anyway, that's all I have to report. Any questions?
Anyone have any other questions for them? I guess I'd ask on the apartments.
Uh-huh.
New people in town, are any of the library staff included? Did any of them decide to take up on it or not?
Well, Jamie is still in one of the apartments. She's been
Okay.
great. And she, I believe, has re-upped to stay. They love it. The other are not. We always put it out to the library first.
Right.
But had no takers. So these are just, and they're all young couples, which is great.
Okay.
So, and they have jobs in town. So
That's wonderful.
yeah.
Okay. Appreciate that very much. That's the end of our scheduled agenda items. I always like to give a chance if there is something that we didn't get on the agenda, anyone has any other new business that they'd like to bring up. Any comments or questions? I see no one. Everyone must be ready for dinner or a special TV show. Upcoming trustee meetings and other events. Our board meeting on Thursday, February the 4th. The library operating plan for 2021, Claudine will be presenting to us. Excuse me. Our regular board meeting on Tuesday, February 16th, because the library is closed on February the 15th, President's Day. So this has been our tradition and planning to move that one board meeting to that Tuesday. And then the Friends and Foundation meeting is February 22nd. That should be 2021, not 22. Sorry about that. And that's at 2 p.m. I will be attending on behalf of the trustees. And that will be Zoom still, I'm sure. So, and then just FYI, I mentioned it kind of earlier directly to Annie, but Claudine and Annie and Sarah and I will be getting together in February for a quarterly session just to discuss things in relation to the Friends and Foundation and the library. I have no other business, and it appears no one else does. I appreciate your participation. Look forward to everything starting to get at least a little bit back to normal. I hope those of you that are eligible are applying for the vaccine. I get my first shot next Tuesday. My wife got her first shot last Friday. And
Now you're just bragging.
well, it took some effort to get scheduled. I'll tell you that. It doesn't just happen. You got to get out there and ask for it, get signed up. So we're hoping to get ours done so that we can finally get to see our daughter and her family, our granddaughters, maybe latter part of March. So anyway, I hope everyone is actively pursuing that as you may and can. Anything else, Claudine, before I close the meeting? You're muted.
No, sir. Just Happy New Year.
Okay. Everyone, be good.